and welcome to this week's episode of Connect Her podcast and also our YouTube. I have with me today a very passionate lady who's passionate about health and fitness from Inspired Fitness Solutions. I've got Carolyn Smith. Good morning, Caroline.
Good morning.
Now, you are very passionate about helping people live their optimal life as natural, enjoyable, and simple to fit them, which I love that.
Yep.
And also create long-lasting connections daily through your group personal training. And you've also been forming relationships with other businesses over 10 years. So you can't wait to help people, which is just awesome. So welcome and thank you.
No worries. Thanks for having me.
It's great. Now, tell me, what is the last song or podcast that you listen to on your phone?
Well, it's interesting because I actually don't listen to music much. I don't actually have anything on my phone. And I don't listen to podcasts at the moment, but it's on my list of things to do. So what I do listen to, though, and watch are Zoom calls. So recordings from, people in the network marketing industry or people in the fitness industry. So anything to do with health and fitness, I'm probably more on Facebook videos, and that's what I watch a lot. Yeah.
Fantastic. I know I love watching webinars and Zoom calls and recordings as well. I just find them so beneficial and so much information. So excellent. Well, I'm glad to hear because I always call my car my little uni. My little Hyundai Uni, so it's always got something. So you can relate to that as well.
Yeah.
Now, your business, Inspired Fitness Solutions, that's obviously not your first business because we've obviously talked before.
Yep.
So, what was your first foray into business?
So I actually started over 18 years ago, and even going back to when I was younger, my parents always had businesses. So for me, it was a natural and progression and a no-brainer to actually go into a business on my own. So when I left corporate and decided that I wanted to be a personal trainer, when I finished, they actually came to me for an information evening. And so I actually bought a franchise.
Right.
And I had that franchise for 12 years before I actually went out on my own. And, that was the best thing I ever did. But, so now I've had this one now for coming up 6.5 years almost.
Fantastic. And you would really see, Caroline, the difference between owning a franchise and having all that information gathered and given to you as opposed to having to all of a sudden create it and be everything in your business. You'd really notice a difference, I would assume.
I did, and that was probably one of the biggest challenges, obviously. When you're in a franchise, you've got that name and the backing. So when you do leave, you've got nothing. So basically, I started again from scratch. So I went from having a really, really big business to having a little business. And it's been hard to build because once I actually did leave, our industry kind of got a bit flooded with personal trainers. So there are a lot out there.
Yeah.
And I have to rely on the fact that I've been around for so long and I'm good at what I do and I know what I'm doing. I think that's
a huge learning curve.
Yeah, and obviously now I'm doing everything. So you have to be jack of all trades.
Exactly. And you've got those hats. Because I remember when I broke away from the corporate world and into my business, and all of a sudden where if I wanted a marketing tool, I just walk down the corridor to the marketing department and say, right, I need this for the sales team. Or if somebody hadn't paid their bills, the accounts department down the other end of the corridor, they'd be going and knocking on the door and saying, we need your money. So all of a sudden I had to become the marketing person, the salesperson, the expert in my field, the accounts person, and it can be really daunting.
Yeah, and you're exactly right. I was having this conversation yesterday with a colleague, and we just said we have to wear way too many hats.
Yeah. And so all of a sudden, what you're really passionate about actually gets diluted, because to get to do all that things that you want to be passionate about, you need all those hats and you need everything to make it all work. So,
Yeah.
so you actually touched on the fact that your industry became inundated. So, about your current business, what sets you apart from anyone else in the industry?
I think my number one thing at the moment is the fact that I do have a nutrition program attached. So not all personal trainers actually do anything with nutrition in their business.
Yeah.
They probably solely focus on just the training.
Mm-hmm.
Also, the fact that I am outdoors.
Yeah.
So my prior business is probably my main competitor. And some of the other smaller PTs are getting outdoors now, which is good. But, you know, there's a lot of people in studios. So I guess it's just obviously being outdoors. You know, I do have that whole wellness package with the health and the fitness, and just, yeah, my knowledge and my group camaraderie as well. It's a big thing that I think people are always looking for connections.
Oh, big word, connections. I've had a couple of meetings this morning, and the key words that came out of both of those meetings was connections. So, you know, if you can buddy up with somebody during group fitness, that because sometimes you can feel a bit overwhelmed, and if you've got somebody else that's sitting there, or you know, not sitting there when you're doing group training, but with you, that can just egg you on a bit more. And
definitely, it's accountability as well. If you've got an accountability buddy, you know, you've got someone that's relying on you and you're relying on them to get you through that session or get you to the session, then
I agree. Fantastic. Now, we have touched a little bit on this, but I wouldn't mind digging a bit deeper. What do you find challenging in your business?
Yeah, definitely getting more clients. Look, I've been trying to do lots of marketing and expand my marketing. I've done some studying on it, but it is really hard. And even finding the right people, because I find that once people even make an inquiry and you try to follow them up, they're just not there. It's like they made this rash decision to call you and then they decided, oh, no, I'm not going to do that. Or they might come to a session and then realise that they don't have time or they really can't fit it in. And so it's finding the right people for my program.
Yeah.
Because most of the time, once they get into the groove, they stay. So I do have a high retention.
High retention is great. I was talking with somebody just recently, and again, we were talking about, we use the term bums in seats, and the fact that you can do all this marketing and you can have a great program, but you've got to have people that are sitting there and listening, or in your case, that are doing. And sometimes, particularly, which is not the case for you because you've been doing this for so many years, but new business owners, they'll take actually on the wrong clients just because it's money coming through the door. So, you know, particularly coaches and things like that, they'll take on whoever is breathing, where you're saying you're looking for the right type of client, which makes sense because that's why you've got such a high retention rate.
Yeah, because what they say in business is, I think it's that 10% rule. If you actually focus on the people that, if you keep chasing that 10% that either aren't coming or returning your calls or whatever, then you find that that's what you're doing. You find, you said, so you're kind of doing it, that chasing after that 10% 90% of the time.
Yes.
So you're not getting to do what you're meant to be doing.
Exactly.
On the people that actually are coming.
And the other thing it does for you, if you're focusing on 10% that aren't doing anything, or you're focusing on the wrong avatar or the wrong type of customer or the wrong type of client, and you're getting no, it just pummels your self-esteem. All of a sudden, you get to the point where you think, I don't want to pick up the telephone. I don't want to put another post on social media. I don't want to attend another networking event because I am so drained and so exhausted from the no's. Where if you can start really focusing on the people that are the right type of people, and okay, you might out of 10 get 5 no's, but you might get 5 yeses, which is much better than 90 no's and 1 yes.
Yeah. And look, over all these years, that's what I've learned is sometimes you just have to let go of people. And you just have to almost expect a no. Then you'll be pleasantly surprised when you get a yes.
Have you ever read the book Go for No?
No, I don't think so.
It's a really good book. It's called Go for No. And it's about you have to go through so many no's to get to a yes. I'm not going to spoil it because it's a really good book. And anybody that is in business, and I come across people that say, oh, I'm not in sales. Unfortunately,
everyone is.
If you've got a website or a sign on the door or you want to make money, you have to be a salesperson. And Go for No is talking about you've got to go through so many no's before you get a yes. And instead of getting that dejected feeling because, oh my gosh, I've got another no, it's about celebrating the no. All right, yay, that's one off my list. Let's go for the next one. And then all of a sudden, that yes comes and then you start again. So worthwhile having a read, Go for No.
Yeah.
Now, this is a bit of a funny question, I think, but if you could whisper in the ear of your day one business self, what would you tell her?
I'd actually say I used to always think that old saying is, do what you're passionate about, and the money will come. And I think, you know what, it's actually a load of crap because you still have to work. You still have, you've still got to put in. And also I think what we touched on earlier about wearing so many hats, outsource. I just never outsourced enough or probably did the wrong outsourcing. I don't know, just find out, focus on what you're good at and, find other people that are experts in their field in whatever you need and get them to do it. Yeah.
I love that you brought that up, Carolyn. In my original business, there was things that I could not do and I struggled with it. I tried doing it, failed dismally. And sometimes when you're a startup, or you don't even have to be a startup, there are times when you can barter services. And I've talked a lot about that in previous business and previous podcasts that I used to have about bartering. So you may have something that you absolutely need getting done, but it's this price and your budget doesn't reach it. But that person may actually want something that you've got, and you can do that bartering so that you're both winning, and you're getting that business happening. And you're absolutely right about outsourcing, because I think, and I made the mistake when I first started, that every ounce of money that came into the business went back into the business, for websites or marketing material or whatever came up. It didn't go into it to outsource or to do things that would take it to the next level. So I think you really hit on a very, very pertinent point for any business. It doesn't matter whether you're new, 10 years into it, 20 years into it. Outsourcing is a key component of being able to grow your business.
Yeah. But then I think you just touched on something as well, which I was talking about yesterday with someone, and that's doing a contra.
Yeah.
I did that with my website photos. So my photographer was training with me. So I gave her free training to the value of whatever, the photography session would cost.
Yeah.
So I think if you can do that, obviously we all need money to come in, but when you are cash poor as a sole trader, then, you know, that helps. If you can, you know, do business to business, yeah.
Yeah.
But I think as long
Exactly.
as you know the person, don't do it with someone you don't know.
No, absolutely agree. And there needs to be guidelines around that. There, you know, an end date, a start date, an end date, or this is what I would normally charge. This is what I would normally
Yes.
charge. So
And
this
yeah,
is
get
what
that
you're going to
monetary
get for that.
value equal.
Yeah, yeah. So great point, and definitely something that I wish in the past I had done that earlier. I did that for a few things within my business that really helped to get it to the next level back in the early days. Not Connect Her. This was something different, but doing that actually did step it up quite significant notch, which was fantastic.
Yeah.
So finally, would you do it all again?
Look, I probably would. Coming from a background, you know, I spent 10 years working for the government, and even though that was all well and good to get me started, and, you know, I earned money and travelled, I did a lot of travelling, I don't think anything still beats being your own boss, working your own hours. I still work long hours, but
they're your
it's not
hours.
all, it's like I can mix it up. So even though I'm free during the day, or not free, because people always say, well, what do you do during the day? I'm like, oh my God, there's always something to do, because, you know, you're wearing all these hats. But it still means that if I want, I can go out for lunches and coffees, and that's what I'm doing a lot at the moment, you know, catching up with people. And if I need to do, you know, extra work at night after work, after classes, so be it. But, you know, I can work my day around my business and my training. So.
Fantastic. Just touching on, you said if I want to go out for lunch or if I want to go out for coffees, and you're doing a lot of coffees at the moment, it's social and business. Like it's about, you know, building those relationships and bringing on people to get to know you, get to like you, get to trust you, so that they find out more about you, so they can refer business to you, and vice versa. So it's interesting because I had somebody say, oh, you're always out for coffee and you're having coffees all the time. And it's like, well, yeah, I am having coffee, but it's actually a process of building my business that I'm having these coffees. And sometimes people forget that little component, don't they?
Yep. And that's why we network, because it's that FOMO, you know, if you're not out there and you're not top of mind to people, then they forget about you.
Absolutely.
So you have to keep those relationships going and having those coffees and going to your networking. And also
you learn a lot, and you know, it might be somebody says, oh, I use this for my website, or I've just found that for my website. Oh, I haven't heard of that, or I use this app now, or it's actually, it's not just about getting noticed. It's all that. There's so much more to a networking event that you know, I've had conversations with people and they said, oh, you know, I haven't got time to go networking. What happens when your last client has signed their contract and you don't have another one to come on? All of a sudden you go networking again. Well, people have forgotten about you over the last 6 months. So if you can get out to 1 or 2 a month to keep top of mind within a group of people and building a community, which is a great point that you touched on as well.
Because even though we're on Facebook or Instagram or whatever it might be, LinkedIn, and you're putting stuff out there, it's still all online. We still, as human beings, we need to, getting back to that good old word, connect. We need to connect face to face and, you know, speak to people and build that relationship and that trust.
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't just always work online.
No, and as I said, I had a podcast channel years ago, and I was actually listening to one a few days ago by accident, and it's interesting because we were talking about how social media had just started, and wow, we can connect with people without always having to go to a networking event. And this was 2011, 2012, the podcast. And we've actually come that circle where we had a time where everybody went, oh, I don't have to go out. I'll just sit behind my computer. And now people are going, actually, no, I don't need to sit behind my computer. I need to get back out again. So there's nothing like as human beings, we are so community orientated that it's absolutely that we need that human connection.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
Excellent. Now, how can people get hold of you?
So you can go to my website, inspiredfitnesssolutions.com, and all my details are there.
Excellent. And we can also connect with you on the Connect Her website, connecther.com.au, under Meet the Leaders.
Yeah, and come and do my Connect Her meeting.
Exactly. Thank you so much for joining us today, Carolyn.
No worries. Thank you.
Thank you.